I thought opening a self-service laundromat would be simple. I would rent a small space, install a few commercial washers and dryers, unlock the doors, and collect money while customers did all the work themselves. No chefs, no warehouse, no complicated inventory, no products expiring on a shelf. Just rows of machines turning water, electricity, and time into cash. At least that was the version of the business I had built in my head. I had watched videos of laundromat owners calling it one of the closest things to passive income. Customers carried in their own clothes, loaded the machines, paid before the cycle started, and left when everything was clean. The business seemed almost perfect. The machines could work early in the morning, late at night, on weekends, and even when I was not physically inside the building. So I started imagining the numbers. If one washer completed several paid cycles every day and I owned 10 or 15 machines, the revenue looked attractive. Add dryers, detergent sales, and a vending machine, and the place could supposedly earn money from several directions at once. I pictured myself visiting twice a week, checking the payment system, collecting the profits, and calling a technician whenever something went wrong. Then I started calculating what it would actually cost. The first shock was the equipment. A normal household washing machine was useless for the volume I needed. I would need commercial machines designed to run repeatedly without falling apart. Those machines cost far more than I expected, especially the larger units customers wanted for blankets, heavy loads, and family-sized washing. Then came the dryers, then delivery, then installation, then the payment system. And buying the machines did not mean I could simply place them against a wall and switch them on. The building itself had to be transformed. The floor needed to support the equipment. The plumbing needed enough capacity to feed several washers at the same time. The drainage system had to handle hundreds of liters of used water without backing up. The electrical panel might need upgrading. Gas lines, ventilation, lighting, security cameras, folding tables, seating, signs, and fire safety equipment all added another layer of expense. Even the location required money before I could begin renovating it. There was the deposit, the first rent payment, permits, insurance, legal documents, and possibly several months of rent while the laundromat was still closed for construction. Before I had washed a single customer's shirt, I could already have a huge amount of money trapped inside a business that had not earned anything. But I kept telling myself that the opening cost was temporary. Once the doors opened, I thought the machines would begin paying me back. That was when I discovered the second problem. A laundromat does not stop costing money after construction ends. It starts costing money in a different way. Every time a washer begins a cycle, I pay for water. I pay again to heat some of that water. I pay for electricity to turn the drum. When a customer moves the load into a dryer, I pay for the energy needed to create heat and keep the machine running. The customer sees one payment. I see several expenses hiding inside that payment. Then there is rent, insurance, internet service, cleaning supplies, trash collection, pest control, security, general cleaning, machine maintenance, and the small items customers damage or carry away. A broken coin slot can stop one machine from earning. A leaking hose can damage the floor. A dryer that does not heat properly can create complaints, refunds, and a repair bill on the same day. And while all of this is happening, the business can still look successful from the outside. That was the contradiction I missed. A laundromat could look busy, collect payments all day, and still lose money after utilities, rent, repairs, cleaning, and debt took their share. The next decision looked easier than buying the machines. I needed a site. I treated that choice like a real estate problem. I searched for affordable rent, enough space, and a landlord willing to allow plumbing work. When I found a unit in a residential neighborhood in Seattle, I thought I had solved the hardest part. Thousands lived nearby, many in rented apartments. Some buildings had old shared laundry rooms, and others had no machines at all. On paper, the neighborhood looked perfect. I signed the lease. That decision taught me something I should have understood earlier. People do not choose a laundromat because it exists near their home. They choose it because using it feels easier than every other option. My name is Michael, and during the first few weeks, I stood behind the glass watching potential customers drive past my building. The problem was parking. The laundromat had few spaces, and the restaurant next door often occupied too. Customers with several bags had to park down the street and drag everything to my door. I had found potential customers but made it inconvenient for them to enter. To recover my investment, I set my prices higher than several older laundromats nearby. I told myself my machines were newer and my payment system was easier. I assumed customers would pay more for a cleaner experience. Some did. Many did not. A family washing several loads multiplied the difference across every washer and dryer. What looked like an extra $1 to me could become an extra $10 or $15 during one visit. Then Saturday arrived. The machines were busy, and the laundromat finally looked successful. But success created a new kind of failure. Customers walked in, saw that the large washers were occupied, and left. Some waited. Others divided one large load between smaller, more expensive washers. A few carried their bags back outside. I had spent so much time worrying about empty machines that I had never considered what would happen when the wrong machines were full. My smaller washers sat open while the large machines formed a bottleneck. The room looked busy, yet I was still losing sales. That was the second contradiction. Too few customers made the equipment unproductive, but too many arriving together could also push revenue out the door. Convenience was not one feature. It was the entire system. It was parking, opening hours, machine sizes, prices, cleanliness, lighting, safety, payment options, folding space, and how quickly a customer could finish and leave. Small details changed behavior. If the floor looked dirty, customers assumed the machines were dirty. If one dryer took too long, they blamed every dryer. If the card reader failed once, they chose another business. If the room felt unsafe at night, my long opening hours meant nothing. I began tracking arrivals, machine choices, waiting times, and departures. I spoke to customers instead of guessing. Parents wanted larger washers. Older customers wanted simple controls. Workers wanted late hours. Almost everyone wanted easier parking. The data forced me to admit that my expensive equipment was not the product. The product was saved time. Customers were paying to remove an annoying task from their day as quickly and predictably as possible. That meant a cheaper competitor could still lose if the store was dirty, unsafe, or unreliable. But my clean new laundromat could also lose if visiting it required too much effort. I could not move without breaking the lease, so I improved everything around the location. I negotiated shared parking rules, adjusted prices during quieter hours, added signs showing cycle times, and promoted the large machines more clearly. Traffic improved, but the lesson hurt. A good neighborhood does not guarantee a good laundromat. The business succeeds only when the location, price, equipment, and customer routine fit together. One weak link can make a full room less profitable than it appears. The first month it looked profitable almost convinced me I had finally figured the business out. The machines were moving. The payment system showed steady sales. Weekend traffic was strong, and money was finally coming back after months of spending. Then Monday morning arrived and 3 machines stopped working. One washer would not drain. Another displayed an error code I had never seen. One dryer turned normally but produced almost no heat. They saw 3 machines covered with handwritten signs and assumed the whole laundromat was unreliable. A technician could come the next day, but only if I paid an emergency service charge. The washer needed a part that was not available locally. The dryer needed a new heating component. In less than 48 hours, the profit I thought I had earned that month began disappearing. That was when I learned that laundromat income is not simply money collected from machines. It is money collected from working machines. A broken washer creates 2 losses. First, it stops producing revenue. Second, it sends customers toward competitors where they may form a new habit and never return. I started treating every machine like a small employee. Each one needed to show up, perform correctly, and avoid complaints. But machines failed without warning, usually during the busiest hours. The utility bills created another surprise. I had estimated water, electricity, and gas using average numbers from equipment brochures. Real customers did not behave like averages. Some selected hot water cycles. Some overloaded the machines. Busy weekends pushed several machines at once, while colder weather increased heating costs. Then the utility company raised its rates. My prices had not changed, but the cost of producing every wash had. A few extra cents repeated thousands of times became a serious monthly expense. I considered raising prices, but I knew how sensitive customers were. Increase them too quickly and I could lose traffic. Leave them unchanged and my margin would shrink quietly. Then a competitor opened 6 blocks away. Their signs promised new machines, free drying for the first month, and a grand opening discount. My first reaction was panic. I wanted to cut every price and match every promotion, but lower prices would not reduce my rent, debt payments, or utility bills. They would only make each customer less profitable. Weekday traffic fell first. Some returned, some did not. My revenue dropped, but my main expenses stayed almost exactly the same. That is the dangerous shape of this business. When sales rise, costs rise because customers use more water and energy. But when sales fall, many costs barely move. Rent remains fixed, insurance remains fixed, loan payments remain fixed. Cleaning still has to happen. The machines still need maintenance. A profitable month can therefore become an unprofitable one without any dramatic disaster. A few broken machines, a higher utility bill, weak advertising, and a small decline in traffic can be enough. I also discovered that advertising was not a switch I could turn on once. The opening campaign brought attention, but attention faded. New residents did not know I existed. Customers who had not visited for months needed a reason to return. Online reviews mattered, local search results mattered, and one angry complaint about a failed dryer could influence people who had never entered the store. I had believed the machines would create demand automatically. They did not. The laundromat needed visibility, reliable equipment, and a reason for customers to choose it again. For the first time, I understood that stable income had to be built. It came with no machine. That was the third contradiction. The business looked repetitive, but the income was unstable. The same building and machines could produce 2 completely different months depending on repairs, utility prices, competition, advertising, weather, and customer trust. I realized that waiting for more washing cycles was not a complete growth strategy. There were only so many machines and customers. If I wanted the laundromat to become stable, I needed to earn more from each visit without raising wash prices. I installed vending machines near the entrance and stocked them with detergent, fabric softener, stain remover, dryer sheets, laundry bags, water, and snacks. The sales looked small beside washer revenue, but the products offered convenience. Customers forgot detergent. Parents arrived with children who wanted a drink. Someone needed an extra bag. Each purchase was small, but the margin on a packet of detergent could be higher than the margin on a wash after water and electricity. They did not save the business, but they made busy days more valuable. Then I added a loyalty program. Customers earned credit and received discounts during slow weekday hours. The discount cost me something, but empty machines cost me more. By moving part of the weekend crowd into quieter hours, I earned revenue from capacity I was already paying for. The next step changed the business. I hired 2 part-time employees and introduced wash and fold service. Customers could leave bags of clothes, pay by weight, and collect everything clean, dry, and folded. This was no longer self-service income. Now I had wages, scheduling, training, quality control, and the risk of damaged or mixed clothing. But I could charge for labor and convenience, not only machine time. The same washer supported a larger order when a customer paid us to handle everything. The service attracted workers, students, parents, and small businesses. Some became weekly customers, giving me recurring demand I could estimate. Then came delivery. Delivery meant fuel, insurance, route planning, and more chances for mistakes. We tested a small service area with fixed pickup days. The early routes were inefficient. After fuel and labor, some deliveries barely made money. So I created a minimum order, grouped customers by neighborhood, and charged separately for delivery instead of hiding the cost inside the laundry price. That decision mattered. Revenue is not automatically profit. A delivery order could increase sales while making the business poorer if a driver spent an hour collecting one small bag. The same was true for every new service. More income streams also meant more complexity, so I reviewed each one separately. How much revenue did detergent sales create after inventory costs? How much profit remained from wash and fold after wages, utilities, refunds, and damaged items? How many delivery orders could fit into one route before another driver was needed? Which loyalty discounts filled empty machines, and which only made visits cheaper for customers who would have come anyway? The numbers changed how I managed the store. I stopped judging success by the total collected in the payment system. I tracked profit by machine types, service, hour, and customer group. I created a repair reserve, scheduled preventive maintenance, monitored water use for leaks, compared utility bills, and tracked machine downtime. I also learned to keep cash inside the business. During strong months, it was tempting to withdraw the extra money and call it profit. But part of that cash belonged to future repairs, taxes, equipment replacement, and slow seasons. A laundromat can be profitable on paper and still run out of cash when several major machines need replacement together. By the end of the year, my store earned money from washing, drying, vending, detergent, wash and fold, delivery, and memberships. But the real improvement did not come from adding as many services as possible. It came from understanding which services produced profit and controlling the expenses behind them. That was the fourth contradiction. Diversification made the laundromat safer only when every new source of revenue was managed as its own business. By the second year, the laundromat finally looked like the business I had imagined. The machines were cleaner, weekday traffic improved, and wash and fold orders brought income when self-service demand slowed. But I no longer judged the business by how busy the room looked. I judged it by what remained after every expense was paid. In a good year, the store stayed reliable. Utility prices remained close to budget, the large washers stayed busy, delivery routes were full, and the loyalty program moved customers into quiet hours. Revenue rose, but more importantly, profit rose with it. High revenue once made me feel successful. Now I knew water, electricity, wages, rent, repairs, debt, taxes, and discounts could consume it before I touched it. A busy laundromat could still be financially weak. In a bad year, 2 washers failed in 1 month. Water rates increased. 1 employee left during our busiest period, and the delivery van needed repairs. At the same time, the new competitor lowered prices again. Nothing destroyed the business in one dramatic moment. Problems arrived together. Small losses can hide inside normal operations for months. A washer uses extra water because of a leak. A dryer runs longer because airflow is blocked. Staff spend too much time on poorly priced orders. Discounts reduce revenue without changing customer behavior. Each issue looks manageable alone. Together, they can erase the entire margin. So I created rules. Every machine received a maintenance schedule. Every service had a minimum margin. Every delivery route needed enough orders to cover labor and fuel. Every price change had to reflect costs, not emotion. I also set aside money every month for repairs. Commercial machines do not last forever. Their final breakdown is certain. Only the timing is not. If I spent every strong month as if the cash belonged to me, the next replacement would become debt. That was the fifth contradiction. Keeping money inside the business made me look less successful personally, but it made the laundromat more likely to survive. I had opened it because I wanted an asset that produced income without controlling every hour of my life. But it was not passive at first. I handled refunds, watched utility bills, trained employees, and visited at inconvenient times. Eventually, monitoring, checklists, and planned maintenance reduced the workload. The business became easier only after I made it predictable. That is what people misunderstand about laundromats. The machines may operate automatically. The business does not. Success depends on location, convenience, reliable equipment, pricing, utility control, service quality, and enough cash to survive repairs in weak months. Failure often begins when an owner focuses on money entering the machines and ignores money leaving the bank account. So, was opening the laundromat worth it? For me, yes, but not for the reason I expected. It was not a machine that turned payments into effortless wealth. It was a real operating business with expensive assets and margins that improved only when I understood customers and controlled costs. The optimistic outcome was a reliable store with several profitable income streams and enough reserves to replace equipment. The realistic outcome was slower. Some months were strong, others were disappointing, and growth required constant reinvestment. But the business became durable because I stopped chasing the appearance of success. I focused on cash flow, maintenance, convenience, and repeat customers. Remember this: a laundromat does not make money simply because its doors are open. It makes money when every machine, price, service, and expense works together. Subscribe for more honest breakdowns of businesses that look simple from the outside. And tell me in the comments, would you choose high traffic and high rent or lower traffic with lower costs? Because the spin cycle is automatic, the profit never is.